So.
Let's wait for everything to get sorted out. Is everyone in? Oh, bloody hell, we have
Yes, we have a full grid.
Alright, be patient, Chris.
Why are people readying up?
No clue.
Me neither. I'm stopping that now.
YouTube.
Right. Okay. Seriously, do people understand English? Okay. Is whenever we're live, we're good to go. So.
Alright. That's in.
Brilliant. Nice one, mate. Okay, cool. Right. Don't go yet.
Yeah, I'll go when everyone starts reading.
Thank you. Okay, ready up, everyone. So what we'll do is, obviously, you're taking the lead. This is your stream, and I'm just happy to be in the box with you. I actually thought I was going to be out tonight, but I'm very happy to be in the box here with you tonight, Sweeney. So thank you for having me.
All good, all good. Right, we'll get going in just a second. Just need to grab something. So hello and welcome back everyone to OBF1. We're here for the Friday night race and once again, and we are here for round 7 back in Montreal, a very, very prestigious circuit. And to the circuit, Gilles Villeneuve. It is a very, very tough circuit. We saw some very, very good races in the past. Of course, the longest race ever in Formula 1 back in 2012, I believe, taking the win by Jenson Button, and it was a very, very exciting race back when I was only just 6 years old. So yeah, Canada really, really posing some good action in the past. Of course, back in 2019, the last time we visited the streets of Montreal, we saw Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton have a bit of an incident, but joined with P, and it's looking wet for quali.
Yeah, this is definitely. I mean, we'll get to see what the what it's going to be like for the race. Hopefully, I mean, would love to see a dry race. Obviously, having to take into account the two different weather scenarios in terms of rain in quali and then race. It's like, how do you compensate? Do you go for that extra grip during quali, knowing that it's going to really slow you down during the race, or do you go for just go as close to your race dry setup as possible, hoping you don't spin out. I mean, we don't know, it could be a full wet race, but I'm hoping that we're going to see a mixture here. It always spices things up a bit, so
Yeah, exactly that.
I'm very glad not to be racing it, because Track Canada's one of my least favourite tracks in the dry, let alone in the wet. So very happy.
It's always difficult in the dry, let alone in the wet. Of course, the main challenge is getting the lap invalidated, but they've got 18 minutes to acclimatise themselves to the circuit. It doesn't look like there's much in the way of the skies clearing up, so Fotski will be the first one out there. He's just going to be going around there, probably testing where the grip is, where the grip isn't. They're still on it, so the rain isn't too bad, but if it does get worse, they're going to want to set the lap on the green mark intermediate tyres.
Exactly. So it's funny because we've got two drivers who've already retired, Chris and Max, both having to take a quali penalty for today. But they're going to know exactly how to set their car. This could actually prove out to be a really big advantage if we do see, for example, a dry race. And I can see we've got a Haas, it looks like, has spun out. Is that a Haas? I thought I saw a Haas in Sector 1 having spun out on the track map, but we don't have a Haas on track at the moment, so that's weird. But yeah, who are you on board with at the moment, mate? I'm on board with Foxy.
Just on board with the Red Bull of Fotski. Yeah, you can see he's just trying to cruise his way around, see where the grip is, test different lines. That is all it is about in the rain, and you can gain so much from so little in the rain. Just finding that little bit of extra grip. I know from personal experience, you just got to find it, send it a little bit, see where the grip is, and coming through the final chicane of turn 14 and 15, a little bit shaky. As he runs towards the line and then looking towards turn 1, a little bit of a kink on the straight, and then down towards turn 1, looking for the 100 board, even in the wet, down to third gear, keep the traction and try and keep the car rolling through. Second gear through turn 2, a little bit shaky, very, very tight on the throttle there. You have to be so careful, and getting a little bit of a Tokyo drift going on as he hurdles towards turn 3. Again, just want to get the car turning, try and hook it up on the curb on the inside there, run out wide, and then round off sector 1, pretty much flat out in the wet even, should be okay. Goes 23.8 to the first sector, not too bad, not too good, and then through this little chicane again, very easy to step the rear end out and just tap on the wall there. So Fotski really struggling to find some grip, but he's still got quite a while yet to sort itself out.
I'm actually on board with our newcomer to the league, UFO, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I love that combination that he's put his setup on for his name. But yeah, a newcomer to the league in the driving full time in the Williams. He's just had his trial today and is already on track with us. So looking forward to see some good racing from him. Definitely was keeping the pace, and more importantly, had great wear awareness. So let's see if he's able to put that into context in this race. We can see obviously he's going through sector 2, coming up to the end of it, still green on his lap and setting a 50.676. Locks up a little bit, but nothing too bad. Taking a very slow but good line coming through turn 12, I believe, and now down the final straight, heading towards that all in crazy chicane as we see our first retirement in quali. That is Golden Wolf, so Golden will be starting at the back of the grid. Good line there, not getting too much of the curb, but does run a little bit onto the green and crosses the line, setting at 123.369, 0.7 of a second behind Bolksy. See if he can improve on that lap. Obviously, where these tyres degrade a lot less, you're going to be able to run a few more laps on this, and we don't know what fuel people are running. And as we can see, the EOS section is still very high for the drivers because you are braking so much and you're able to recover so much more energy. And just watching through his first sector, he's gone 2/10 fastest as Denmark sets the fastest lap of quali so far, a 1:22.4. Denmark has moved over into our Friday league from Wednesday as well. He seems to be really enjoying this league, which is great. I just saw Mitch's flying lap 1:21.6. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, well, Jim even quicker though, 21.33 tenths quicker, almost exactly. So, and Fotski goes even quicker, about 7 tenths quicker on his own lap there. So it just goes to show how easily you can make up the time on even your own lap, let alone on other people's. But that's a massive sideways moment from the Red Bull there, well held. As Harv now goes with a 20.6. and he is on one. So yeah, so unpredictable in the wet, and such fine margins. But yeah, let's see who can hook up the best lap, because well, with the rain you just have to get a good rhythm and try and hook up a good lap, which Harv so far has seemed to do. Let's see if he can improve on that. Is he on a flying lap as he crosses that? He's a couple of tenths down, but yeah, you really have to hook up in the wet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting on board with Callum Jones, who's going to be starting his fast lap in the Mercedes very shortly. Callum's had a bit of a mixed run here in the OBF1 League, but looking to pick up some very valuable points for Mercedes today. I'm just getting the tables up now for the points. Yeah, so Callum scored his debut point in Spain 2 weeks ago. We'll be looking to build on that, and Mercedes will be looking to build on their haul of points. Currently 44 points behind Renault, who are in fourth, but the battle for second is really hotting up in the constructors. 112 Ferrari, McLaren 105, and Renault 105 as well. So it's going to be very interesting. The Mercedes and the McLaren drivers of Denmark, Kieran, are going to want to do proud, but they've got Little Jim and CDM to contend with. And Little Jim, having just been in this league, I think 3 weeks now, 2 first and a second, he's flying. He's really sending that Renault team upwards. So let's see what they can do today, especially with the championship leader Max going to be starting at the back of the grid. So let's see what he's able to do today.
Yeah, that is a big hit for Max, of course. Yeah, Jim giving him a very good run, of course, as has Harv and co. Really, really close competitive field. So for any newcomer, it's going to be twice as difficult to try and compete. But there's no better way to learn than with people that are better than you. That's how you push yourself to go faster. But Jim really, really coming into this league, guns are blazing, and 1/1000th of a second separate the top two. And wow, that is such fine margins even in the wet, and that is a fraction upon a fraction of a blink of an eye between the two, and still a while left in quali yet to go as well.
I must admit, when I saw that there was just 1,000 separating Harv and Jim, it made me think back to Japan, back I think it was 97, where Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher and Heinz-Harald Frentzen all qualified on the exact same time, and I was like, oh, it would be great to see something like that here in the OBF1 League. But 1,000 per second, I mean, let's face it, you'd blink and you'd miss it and more. But yeah, that is insane. I mean, what a fantastic performance by iHarv to pip Little Jim. As we all know, Jim has got several wins under his belt in both of our leagues, and great drive there by iHarv. Now, I don't know about you, Sweeney. Does the track look like it's clearing up to you? Because it does to me.
Slightly, and of course with these cars going around, even if it's just sort of staying the same sort of rain, when they're going around using, I think it's something like 4 tons of downforce sucking up the rain, and of course with the Pirelli tyres, you know, displacing quite a lot of water. I believe it's 60 litres for the full wets. Not too sure for the inters, but definitely still up there.
I think it's 40 for the inters. I think it's 40 for the inters.
Yeah, something like that. That is really going to start clearing up some nice dry patches on the circuit. We've got a really shaken up grid here. We've got the likes of Denmark, Mr. GFX, Cyberspace, really competing up there. So could give us some nice shaken up little grids, and it's not looking too far. It's only 3 tenths off, which could literally come down to just breaking that a little bit later.
Exactly, and I do believe that Mr. GFX lad is also a newcomer to the league. This is his first race in the OBF1 League, doing a Racing Point Team Proud involved. Oh, I'm just on board with Callum Jones, and I've just seen him lose it coming through turn 6, just at the end of the first sector. CDM has spun it out big time.
Close.
Yes, that was wow. So CDM will have to get back to the pits, and we'll be looking to change that front wing without a doubt. Already qualifying, getting the better of some of our good drivers, and definitely think if we're going to be in wet, it's going to be a very interesting race. Can see Denmark just moving over to CDM now, who will want to get back to the pits as quickly as possible and change it up. So I'm sitting on board with Mitch in the Haas. He is currently in 7th for 121.625, but having just started 7/10 of a second up on his flying lap through sector 1. Let's see what he's able to do during sector 2, if you want to talk it through, mate.
Well, Mitch definitely no slouch at all. Great in the commentary box, even better when it comes to the racetrack, and 7/10 in the first sector. That is a lot of time. If he can carry that momentum forward, he's got half the person he's going to be wanting to beat, 1.4 seconds to that middle sector. This track is either getting such much better, so much better. All Mitch is just driving the socks off this Haas, because at the moment this is looking good for a sub 20 as long as he can keep this final sector clear, but he's definitely going to be looking pretty good for the rest of the lap, and as long as he can keep it hooked up, it's going to be provisional pole into the final chicane of turn 13 and 14. A little bit shaky on the steering wheel, but manages to hook it up pretty nicely, gets on the power using all of that ERS to the line. Is it going to be sub 20? Yes it is, a 1:19.6. This track is getting fast, so timing should be everything. You want to be the last person to set your lap.
Exactly. I think we're going to see a bolt of our fastest drivers coming out maybe with like 2 minutes to go. That's what I tend to do with quali. You want to get that one flying lap in. Fresh tyres. Oh! Mitch is out. Wow. Mitch, that is going to play havoc with the track drying up. Wow. Okay, so we've got a yellow flag in sector 1 and 2. Understandably, Mitch having off both of his front wheels. That is going to affect a few drivers' lap times. Obviously, they're going to have to ease off. Anyone deemed going too aggressively through that section will be will face possible penalties, so they do have to back off a little bit. But yeah, I think that's going to play havoc on Mitch, who had a great chance at pole as this track drying up. Be interesting to see where he slips to. Will be interesting to see where he slips to, because this track is drying up. We can see it, we can hear it. It's going to be, that's going to play havoc. But one thing we do know about Mitch from last week, I believe it was, at Baku. No, it was Spain, sorry, for the Wednesday, because of Mitch joining the session late, is that he's not one of those drivers that can't pass. Like, I think he started in 19th and finished in 4th, so Mitch does know how to pass. He's very good at it, and I think one other thing about Mitch is where he doesn't make too many mistakes in terms of penalties. We're going to see something good come from him. You see little Jim has just gone first as well, with a 1:19.4.
Decent lap time from Jim. Well,
his
already
teammate CDM up to 4th. His teammate CDM is up to 4th as well. Haven't invalidated his lap, so I'm sure he's going to want to try and go again. But yeah, already 0.12 up again on his fastest lap. So let's see if he continues to go with this lap. I'm going to sit on board with him if you want to talk it through, mate.
Well, completely forgot what you were talking about there, but Harv is actually... Little Jim, actually, he's
if you want to talk about Harv, go for it.
He's a 10th up on his time, and already 2 tenths quicker than Mitch as he comes towards the second sector. That's another 2 tenths being taken out, so this track definitely getting quicker. You can visually see the track drying up. He's really pushing the car to its limits. It's going to be interesting to see where Mitch qualifies, actually, in respect to everyone else, because the track is drying. You can even see on the racing line it's just that little bit darker, and that looks that little bit less shiny where they've been laying the rubber down and sucking up all the water. But he negotiates the final chicane, doesn't touch the wall of champions. Might foreshadow something, but who knows. He gets the shortest run to the line, so 19.1, that's pretty good. What's Harv got to say? He's into the pit lane.
Well, Harv actually invalidated his lap coming around the chicane after DR straight in sector 2, so he invalidated, so he's now gone into the pit, so I imagine he's going to be putting a fresh set on, looking to go right out in the very last minute to pit Jim to that pole. He's got 1.5 seconds to find, which is more than doable.
Well, yeah, especially with the improving track conditions and everything. But Foski is looking impressively well. Of course, a Formula 2 race winner. He managed to take the win back in Spain. Hasn't managed to convert that success into Formula 1, but I mean, he's in 3rd place at the moment. If anything happens between the top 2 at the moment, he's definitely going to be looking good, and he's going to be wanting to set up another lap. There's the Racing Point in front, who's got quite a significant bit of damage. Another massive slide from the Red Bull. Now that was a very picturesque moment from him. CDM now going out, so Renault's 1st and 4th as it stands, and it's looking pretty good. I'm not too sure how long left of the session we've got, because it's sort of glitched out for me at the moment, but I'm guessing we're dwindled down to the last few moments. But yeah, definitely going to be looking to see where we can go. Jim, I'm going to guess, is going to be wanting to get into the 118s as he peels into the pit lane. and is going to be trying to improve upon his time. Folks gets well into the pit, and now CDM on an out lap. Let's see what he can do. He's probably the only one of the top guys out on track. Mitch, of course, did retire. Big shame, but here is CDM then setting up a nice little lap. We've got him now setting up the lap, and Broke Gorilla. We can hear the stream in the mic. Him now setting up the lap. Coming in to turn 1 and then turn 2. CDM really trying to hook up that inside curb there and then run it all the way out wide to get on the power as soon as he can, and then towards turn 3 and 4 just got to chuck it in. Looks pretty clean. Hook up the inside curb, hook up that inside curb, really keep the car in. Don't want to unsettle it too much. Keep it as smooth as you can through this corner. Half a tenth up, little bit of time found. Every little helps. And negotiating through this little chicane. Big moment there. Manages to hold that very impressively from CDM, but it doesn't look like this is going to be a very hooked up lap, and he's not making the most of the improving track conditions. But Harv needs to get out and he needs to set a good lap, because as it stands it's going to be 6th, and with such improving track conditions we want to see what Harv can do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Harv having done well, I think CDM has definitely given up after his little tally through turns 5 and 6, so yeah, he's already a second down. But I agree with you, Harv will want to get out there. He is, I believe, Harv, he's not a race winner yet, but he has had a few podiums for us in both of our Wednesday and our Friday night leagues, so he is going to want to try and make advantage of this. Obviously we've got Max, who is going to be starting from the back. We've got a few of our previous faster drivers who have subsequently left the league for other reasons. This is a great chance for Harv. As I can see, he's invalidated. Oh, it's only that lap, sorry. But yeah, this is a great chance for Harv to pick up potentially that first race win. I mean, we've still got Jim, who's nearly half a second clear of Short Marcus in second. Harv has now slipped to 7th, and it's really, and we're getting a bit of a glitch on his stream with regards to the throttle, but yeah, no, I think this is a great chance for Harv to pick up some very serious points here for the Racing Point driver. So let's see how he does. I too can't see how long is left of quali. Hopefully it won't be like he will have time for another lap. And yep, as we looks like he's now coming towards the finish line. And here we go for Harv's flying lap here on what I'm going to presume would be fresh inters. So let's see how he does. Because Broke Gorilla has also retired in 10th. But Mitch still sitting very pretty as quali has come to an end. We've now got the time remaining part. So this will be Harv's one and only. Let's see what is he able to do through sector 1. Already half a second up nearly. So already half a second up as he drops down to 8th place due to side of space going faster. So let's see how he can put together these two straights heading down towards the end of sector 2. It's just nice easy line there through the chicane as we head up towards the end of sector 2. What's his time looking like here? 1.25 seconds. Oh, this is pole right now. If he doesn't screw up this last sector, he will be starting in pole. He's got a 1.5 second lead, so let's see what is he able to do coming down to the last corners and the Wall of Champions. Oh, I thought he was going to invalidate there, but I did adjust his line slightly as he comes across the finishing line. Will that have affected him for pole position? 1:19.05 and takes pole by 0.07 of a second. Wow. And Mitch looks like he'll be starting in 5th. Let's see, we've got side of space coming down the final straight as well, so I'm just on board with him as he heads towards the final chicane. Good line there through the chicane and down towards the checkered flag. What side are going to be able to produce here? A 1:19.8. It's not good enough to pit Mitch, but it does move him ahead of CDM, who was unable to improve on his last flying lap. We've got Rumax, Callum Jones, let's sit on board with him. As I thought, once again, he connects with the Wall of Champions, so he's not going to be improving. Rumax is in, and that is quali over. That will be quali over once Rumax gets back to his pit. So we have it. Harv will be starting on pole with little Jim sharing the front row with him. Let's see what the race brings us, if in terms of not just weather, but also action.
Yeah, well, that is the unknown. At the moment, of course, Harv so close in terms of quality, and Fotsky up there as well, less than a couple of tenths separating the front row. But Mitch, very impressively, to set P5 with a 1:19.6, despite not setting in on the optimal track. So he's definitely looking good in terms of pace, but a very exciting qualifying session.
I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, it has been, and I'm sure we're in for a very adventurous race as well.
Exactly that. So Harv takes pole, then 700ths clear of Jim. He'll join him on the front row ahead of Fotsky in P3. Short Marcus in P4 with Mitch on a less than optimal track, setting a nice good time for P5. Cyberspace P6, CDM P7, Ballboy P8, Denmark P9, GFX Lab in P10, WeMarks P11, Callum Jones in P12, Broke Gorilla P13, Kieran Rees in P14, ARG 15th, UFO in 16th, a decent debut, but definitely looking for some more time. Crowix in 17th, and Chris, Max, and Golden Wolf all not setting a time.
Worth noting that Crowix has got a connection issue, so he won't actually be joining us for the race. He will be sitting out, and so his car will be ghosted throughout the race. So we will unfortunately only be starting with 19 drivers, but yeah, see how it goes.
We've got 36 laps ahead of us to try and get a nice bit of action. It is looking like clear skies, so flat out to the end, and everyone's going to be on those fresh tyres. Of course, as you said earlier, we've got Parc Ferme rules in effect. So did they go for a nice wet setup? Did they try and prevent the aquaplaning in quali? Will that compromise them for the race? We'll just have to wait and see. But it's looking like there's a lot of variables now ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix.
Canadian Grand Prix. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys who didn't set lap times due to quali bans or whatever are able to manage. I mean, obviously they're going to have the pick just straight onto their dry setups. So, be interesting to see how Chris and Max are able to progress through the field with that slight advantage.
And of course, Mitch, we have to remember, is also looking pretty quick and starting P5. It's not often we see him far up the grid, and well, let's see if he can carry his momentum forward from where he starts last, because he's definitely very, very good at overtaking. You can see Harv now. It's actually 35 laps. I do stand corrected. It's 35 laps of the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, and in terms of tyres, Harv's on the mediums.
I don't blame him. I mean, I think it gives him more options towards the middle of the race as to, does he want to switch to the hard compounds? Does he want to try and make these last longer and potentially do a one-stop medium to soft? It leaves you a lot more options. Starting in pole as well, the only kind of thing he has to watch out around with the field is that they don't take him out. And I don't think that should happen. A lot of the drivers up at the front, or all of our drivers, are very clean drivers. They're vetted, and so I think that's a sensible choice. To be fair, he's got good pace, probably more than most of the guys around him. I think it's a sensible decision in the long haul. So we'll see how it works out for him.
Yeah, well, of course, you've got Jim doing the opposite strategy on the softs. Of course, literally direct opposite, and he's surrounded by the top four who are all on mediums, and then Mitch and Side are both on the soft. So very, very mixed strategy. Both, well, pretty much half and half. Well, not half and half. There's a few more people on the softs than there are the mediums, but definitely interesting to see what the mediums can do. And well, I haven't really done much racing around Canada myself, but I would assume the medium to hard would work, maybe.
What it's saying, I just saw the projected pit stops coming up. It said that they would imagine it's going to be a two-stop either way, medium, like soft, medium, hard, or medium, medium, hard. That's what they're saying. But I really do think this could be stretched out to a one-stop with good tyre management. I think anything's possible. I mean, I don't see why this couldn't be a one-stop, and that's why I think the medium drivers will be on that bit of advantage. But this is a very short pit stop. I think the time you lose at the Canada pit stop in normal is about 18 seconds compared to, say, 25 for others. I'll let you take over now for the start of the race. Go for it, mate.
Here we go then to 5 red lights ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix. And we've had a couple of jump starts. That's Crowix's AI going, but we're still waiting for everyone else to get going. When is it going to be lights out? Still waiting. Of course, Codemaster's really unreliable. It thinks we are now underway. It's a pretty poor start from Harv, though he gets away initially well, but he's already under pressure from Jim, who's going to look to go around the outside of turn 1. It'll be the inside of turn 2 if he can hold it, but Harv's going to try and keep him there and keep him pinned to the inside. But there goes Jim into the lead of the race. Foski managing to get himself up into P3 as it stands as well. Crowd's AI really not doing him any favours. There's the Mercedes trying to get past on the Ferrari. Short Marcus up the inside. There's a VSC already out. What's happened there?
It looks like Broke Gorilla, there's been a spin. I'm not sure who between, but it's definitely been, I'm inclined to say the two Alfa Romeos because they both got 5-second penalties. So I'm thinking maybe Broke Gorilla and Golden Wolf have come together, coming into turn 3 and 4. So yeah, it looks like it's a terrible start for the Alfa Romeos, but yeah, I think that's what's happened. So yeah.
Big shame that we are back under green flag racing and back finished after the VSC. We've still got a 4-way fight for the race lead. Harv's going to be wanting to get away well and get himself back in front. He's using that ERS to try and propel him down this straight. Can he get back in front of Jim? He needs to maybe try and stay with him. He doesn't want to fight and wear out his tyres. He just wants to stay with Jim and try and see if he can stay in the tow, wait for the DRS maybe and launch a counter-attack when the tyres get back into their own. But still a very compacted grid, and we'll have to see how this plays out. But Mitch is driven pretty well. He's on the softs, but might want to start making some indents into the likes of Foski in front.
That's it. One of the things I'm kind of surprised about is we didn't see more movements in the first few turns. We've got, a few drivers have lost positions, but our biggest gain was Golden Wolf from 20th up to 16th, only 4 places gained, obviously not counting Krawick because he's with his AI. But yeah, it's not seen much action so far. I'm sure that will change once we hit the DRS zones, but in lap frame, hopefully.
So here's Mitch getting himself up the inside of Foski. He's going to leave him to dry around the outside. Very nice bit of racing between these two, but Foski eventually just going to have to sit behind. Short Marcus looking to get involved as well. He's going to look to the inside of turn 10. Contact as the Red Bull swerves to the inside. He's managed to keep it going. Has a little look. The Ferrari then getting a nice little drive, getting the cutback on the Mercedes. The Mercedes looking still very shaken, but Short Marcus, yeah, heart's going to be in his mouth after that one. That Red Bull come across so quickly to defend, and he just wasn't expecting it.
I was sitting on board with Short Marcus for that incident, and I could not. The thing I was like, oh my god, he's going to go into Mitch. He is going to go into Mitch. Mitch showed amazing awareness there to take that corner super wide and avoid the collision with the Mercedes, who would have had no control over his car. That was some great driving there, not just by Short Marcus not to go into anyone, but by Mitch to not get taken out by Short Marcus. Had he have gone for the more aggressive line, he would have been taken out without a doubt. So great awareness there by the guys to not pick up any damage from that.
Yeah, luckily so. Short Marcus definitely going to be counting his lucky stars with that one. Has he picked up a little bit of damage? Doesn't look like it. So he's managed to get away lucky with that, luckily. Max with a 112.1. Hasn't made up many places yet, but we'll have to see how he pans out. But the pace definitely looking good. Harv has already picked up a 3-second time penalty, trying to stay with Jim. So he's still with him, despite him being on the soft compound tyres and Harv on the mediums. But he's definitely not helped himself there with the penalty. And with DRS now going to be enabled, the drag reduction system, the rear wing that opens to propel them down this back straight at almost 20 kbh faster. It's going to add a bit of spice to it, and Harv going to be ever closer, trying to get himself back into the lead of the race. And with DRS, it's only going to help him, but they're still equal pegging with DRS, so he might just want to save a little bit of his battery, maybe try and starve Jim out of some battery here.
So one thing I've noticed is that our first lap collision, I think it was between Max and Broke Gorilla, because they both had to pit for new front wings. That's why Max is so far behind at the moment. So we'll see how he's able to turn that into a good race strategy. But yeah, I think our first lap incident was between Max and Broke Gorilla, who have both pitted onto new tyres.
Well, that's a shame for Max to have gotten off like that. I mean, it would have been nice to see where he managed to get up to, but it's still a long way to go in the race, an 11-0, so still showing what could have been, and still has a long way left to go in this race, so still not all done and dusted just yet. We haven't got the closest to battles. Of course, this is the fight for the race lead, you could say, because Krawick's AI doesn't at all count for a racer, so this is the fight for the race lead, and Harv just trying to edge a little bit closer to Jim, but eventually Jim's tyres are going to start feeling worse for wear, and that is when Harv can get him.
Yeah, exactly. Only soft tyres. I think they're projected to last about 9 laps. My heart was in my mouth, and I thought that was gonna take him. Yeah, I think these soft tyres are going to last maybe 9 laps. I mean, they're projecting 12 to 15 for the mediums, so I reckon 9 laps, and we're going to see the first pit stops coming about from the soft drivers on the soft tyres, definitely.
Yeah, well, if Harv keeps driving like he is now, he's definitely not going to let those medium tyres last to lap 15. That is almost for certain. We've got a little bit of some fighting going on the back, have we? I don't think so, actually. This looks a little bit spaced out, so still pretty close, and Folksy and Mitch still just about keeping with each other, but Mitch is going to try and set off past and catch up to Harv and Jim as they start their little bit of a battle maybe in a few moments' time. But still 31 laps left to go. Safety car could still throw it into the race. So, yeah, at the moment, it's still only a 2-horse race. But maybe Mitch can give us a little bit more action later on.
Exactly. I'm seeing a bit of a DRS train coming about for what on screen is 5th, but is actually 4th. Bulksy side of space and Short Marcus. All very hard, aggressive drivers, but very sensible drivers. So, Bulksy using all of his ERS to kind of combat these two from getting too close to him. But both of them with over 60-70% of ERS are really making smart use of it and utilising the DRS. We'll see how long and if Folksy can hold them off. But I do think these soft tyres are going to start to go soon. So let's see.
They probably will when Harv is ever closer to Jim in front, and even for the fight for P4 on the track at the moment it is still very close, but Jim and Harv now catching on to the back of Crowd's AI, but Jim's tyre is definitely going to be feeling a little bit worse for wear. Here is Harv, he's got the DRS, but Jim's saving graces. He's managed to pick up the DRS from Crowbox, which is only going to delay this fight, delay the inevitable maybe, but Crowd's AI holding off pretty well. Harv just needs to try and edge a little bit closer and maybe go for it next lap when Crowx is out of the picture, because at the moment Jim is going to be able to defend with Crowx's DRS that he's given him. There's yellow flags set to 3. That's Broke Gorilla at the session, but I believe that's just in the pit lane though. So no full course yellow for the time being. Here comes Harv though. He is closing on Jim and looking to get past. Jim defensive to the inside. Here comes the racing point. Turn 13 is not really somewhere you want to get it done. He's going to look to the inside, scare Jim off around the outside. Still going to be side by side. A lot of respect being given and fair play to these guys. That's not somewhere you often see an overtake happen. Here comes Harv though. Can he get it into someone? He's going to look, but Jim's just going to about to hang on to this one.
Some brilliant defending there from Jim. I mean, I was surprised to see Harv go for that move, and what a move, what some defensive position there by little Jim. Gave him enough space to try to make the move, but not enough to risk himself or potentially put Harv into the wall. That was some great driving there by little Jim. Great driving.
Great defence, gave him just enough room, as you said, to allow him to not pass, but still enough to not get himself taken out. That is a very, very scary move from Harv, though, especially into such a tight corner. It's always going to be precarious, but Harv is going to have another go down this back straight and back towards turn 13, which is not the heaviest of braking zones. He's going to look to turn 10, but quickly going to back out of that one. Just needs to set up a good exit, really pushing him through turn 10. A little bit of a love tap to the rear diffuser of the Renault in front, but here he goes then. He's got the overtake enabled. He's got the DRS. Jim without DRS this time, so here comes Harv. Should be a pretty plain sailing move to the inside. Has he cleared it before the corner? Should have. Moves back over to the racing line, and there is Harv into the lead of the race. So it looks as though we're at that crossover point.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's not a corner you want to try and be defending too aggressively. The World Champion has had many victims over the years, hasn't it? So it's one of those, bide your time. I think Jim knows that right now, okay, he's on tyres that are going to be really starting to feel it, but he's got the pace. He will get the DRS as long as he can stay in that section, and he's got a lot of ERS left. Like, he's still got 40% ERS left that he can use should he need to. So I mean, these races aren't a sprint; they are a 50% for that reason. Let's see, but I definitely think we're going to see a good battle between these guys for the rest of the race. See who takes it.
Let's see, it's definitely going to be a battle of strategy at the end of the day, because those softs and those mediums, very opposing strategies. Maybe Jim is using the softs now to get a good start, who knows, and then go into 2 sets of mediums might work. We'll have to just wait and see how he's going, but of course safety cars and the lot will still throw a massive curveball in. Here's Folksy and Cider though, still very close and still fighting for P4 as you said. Cider managed to get through a couple of laps ago. can Foski launch the attack? He is closing. Cider having to harvest the ERS. He's going to defend. Foski closing with immense speed to the outside of turn 13. Going to soar around the outside and get that move done. What a move, and what a respect given from Cider there. But Foski just carrying that momentum around the outside. And we've got Jim into the pit lane and for a set of medium tyres.
Sensible choice there. See how long he can make them last, and if he can potentially get on to another set of softs. I mean, I'm not sure. I doubt that will happen, but at least gives him the option, doesn't it? So, yeah, we'll see where he comes out. I'm just, who am I with right now? Yeah, I'm in the battle for third place right now between Foxy, Cider and Short Markers. All of them sticking with one another. Obviously, Cider Space at a slight disadvantage on the soft, so he will be pitting shortly, I imagine. But doing really great job to keep up with these two on what will be some heavily worn soft tyres.
Exactly that. A little bit of a mistake, as you say, that though, through the chicane, and Short Markers is going to look to go for the move, dart into the outside, going to try and set up a little bit of a switcheroo, but Cider Space, yeah, driving pretty well, though. Soft still looking in all right nicks. Foxy really pulled out a gap, though, but crucially, Jim has not come out in clean air. He's going to need to get himself past a couple of cars. Here's Short Markers on Cider Space, who I'm going to presume isn't going to fight this too hard, as he's going to go flat out and into the pit lane. Yes, he is. But yeah, Jim needs to get through this traffic really quickly if he wants any chance of competing with Harv.
I think one of the great things here is that when Harv does pit, he obviously he's going to be going a few laps longer, but when he does pit, he's going to be coming into traffic who will be on fresh mediums right now. Like little Jim is on fresh mediums compared to some old soft, sorry. So yeah, he's gonna make this work. But once the other guys have fresh softs as well, they're really going to be able to, or fresh mediums, whatever they choose to do, they're going to be able to hold Harv back a bit. So let's see. I mean, I'm looking now at the gap to leader. Jim's only 14.5 seconds at I have, so he's really catching him. He is catching him. As we can see, Jim taking a very nice move around the outside of Chris and Moot there into the chicanes, turns 8 and 9, I do believe. So good move there by little Jim.
And driving the socks off, really pushing on these fresh tyres to make the most of him. Of course, he opted for the faster strategy. Here's Short Markers getting past Foxy and really showing his pace. Going to be interesting to see when these front medium runners are going to start coming in. But here comes Foxy then. Is he going to get the move done? Short Markers has the DRS and it's just gapping him away further and further. So not too much of a battle going on there. A little bit of a lock-up from Short Markers, but a couple of people more now peeling into the pit lane. So Jim actually hasn't done too badly with this and really using these medium tyres to his full advantage. So it is just going to be a race on time between Jim and Harv. They're not going to really see each other on track.
No, not for a while, definitely not. I mean, once Harv comes out, right now, I think if he used to pit now, he'd be about 4 seconds behind little Jim, but he will have fresher tyres on coming out. Their pace was very similar when they were racing each other at the start of the race, so we will see. I think where's I going with that train of thought? Yeah, go on, you take over. I've lost my train of thought.
Well, yeah, just Jim just needs to try and push as much as he can. I mean, he's closing onto the back of Wimax, who is still on those soft compound tyres that he started the race with. Very impressive stuff from Wimax, and he's still in P4, but Jim definitely going to swallow him up now with DRS, with overtake, pulling to the outside. He's going to try and defend, but it's only going to be fighting a losing battle, and he's going to tuck back in. But Harv really picking up a lot of time penalties here. He's up to, I believe now, 6 seconds.
Let's have a look. Yeah, 6 seconds of time penalty for Harv. So we've got a few drivers. We've only got a few drivers who haven't got penalties. Max, who's now up to 10th, doing a fantastic job in the Haas. Who else? Max, Mitch, Chris, and Little Jim already the only drivers without penalties, and only 12 laps into this Canadian Grand Prix. I did expect a lot of penalties, but wow, let's see how this looks towards the end of the race. I think if these guys can keep it. Sodom, and I think I've just given Max the commentator's curse as he picks up his first 3 second time penalty. But if these guys can keep it clean, Chris, Mitch, and Little Jim avoid penalties, let's see. We've got potential podium positions right there, I'd say.
Yeah, and they're all very, very consistent drivers, Mitch and Max especially. Of course, Max leading the championship, so definitely deserving of his acclamation that we are giving him. But he's driving pretty well, and it'd be interesting to see when he comes into the pits. He has already made a pit stop, and Mitch, of course, has just come in a couple of laps ago. But Jim and Harv, this is now their chance. While Max is on the back foot to try and make up some places in the championship, try and make up some points. There's Mitch down the inside into turn 13, and very, very nicely done. Found the gap that the Williams gave him, went even deeper to the inside, and that is him up into the top 5 and really making the most of these medium tyres. He is really, really loving these medium tyres, is Mitch. He's got some blistering pace.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. And sitting currently 5 seconds behind little Jim, so I really do think he's going to come out once the pit stops are all done and dusted. He's going to be in second without a doubt, and it's going to be a battle between him and iHarv. So let's see. iHarv will have to push somewhat with 6 seconds of penalties, but yeah, Mitch doing a fantastic drive here as we've come to expect from him. Fantastic racer, fantastic guy, and yeah, always very clean and very fair. So.
Yeah, driving well. Here's Mitch on the back of Fotski. Of course, they had a bit of a look earlier on in the race before Fotski dropped off a little bit. He's now driven up to the back of him despite already making the pit stop. Fotski looking to the inside, really trying to deter Jim from fighting him, but Jim's going to find his way through, and it's pointless defending really from Fotski because Jim's always going to find a way through, and he's closed the gap to Harv to around about 10 seconds, so maybe this 2-stop could work for him.
Definitely. I mean, like I said at the start of the race, this is one of the shortest pit lanes. I think the total time lost in a pit stop is 18 seconds. And if Harv is looking to stretch this out to a 1-stop, which I think is doable, 20 laps on the hards, more than doable, then he's going to have some real defending to do from the likes of Jim, from the likes of Mitch, and I would even go as far as to say from the likes of Short Marcus, who's only 6 seconds behind him. So let's see. Like I'm sitting on board now with Folksy, and how far? Ooh, what's that? What's happened there?
Lane, I believe.
I don't think it is. I think it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. That's fine then.
No full course yellow, because that really would have played into the hands of Harv, and well, since they're both racing points, might have had a bit of a crash gate moment there, but yeah, a safety car at this current point in time would really benefit Harv if it was to come out, but he is now coming into the pits, darting into the pits, really sending it, and not leaving any time on the table.
Be right back. Be right back, mate.
Okay, well, we've now lost Pete, so Jim is going to take the lead of the race. Harv comes into the pits, and he's now got some clean air to start using these medium tyres, propel himself forward as much as he can, and hope that Harv has a bit of a tussle maybe with some people in the midfield. Of course, we've got Max, I believe, on the back of Cyberspace, and of course when he started from the back of the grid, he's really shown his pace and what he had. He currently does have the fastest lap as well, if I am correct. Yes, he does an 11.0, so blistering pace, but maybe burnt the tyres off a little bit too much. Where is Harv? That is what I'm interested in. Has he come out in clear air? Ish. He's got a couple of people in front of him. He's got Short Marcus, who has managed to jump him in the pit lane, and he's lost 6 seconds there, so maybe he was held, had some damage he wanted to repair, whatever it might have been. It's definitely held him back, and Cyberspace getting past Chris for P4 there. Mitch getting past Fotski, soaring down the inside, and it will be the outside for turn 10, and I believe we've now got Pete back with us. So Harv come into the pit lane, he's come out in P10 and he's on the fresh mediums. He's going for the 2-stop.
Yeah, he is. So I'm guessing he's thinking, okay, we're going to go hard on this one, try and get to, say, I don't know, maybe lap 28, and then look to put the softs on, get the fastest lap of the race, get the additional point for the racing point drivers in the constructors, and hope to have some blistering pace to catch up the likes of Little Jim. But he's got a lot of work to do. 21 seconds being the gap. That's not going to be easy for him to catch up. Yeah, I think he's going to be ending up battling, if in my personal opinion, will end up battling between the likes of Boxy, Cider, and Chris and Max. I'm seeing Max is already up to 6th on the back of Chris and Cider as he goes for a very ambitious move down the inside of turn 6 there. I thought, wow, but it does make it stick. Chris giving him a decent amount of room there to get through along the DRS straight. So Max up to 5th, still yet to pit, but I imagine he's going to go soft hard. I I'm surprised iHub didn't, with having made those mediums last so long. But yeah.
Yeah, interestingly enough, but Max very aggressive, doesn't leave anything on the table, just completely sent it up the inside, and Chris, fair enough, gave him the room, but Max does not want to wait around. He wants to make sure he can extend these medium tyres. But it's interesting, he's been on these tyres pretty much since the start of the race, and he's still setting some really quick times. So it just goes to show what Max could have done had he started towards the front of the pack with these guys. But yeah, interesting. Here comes Fotski into the pit lane, probably going to strap on some hards. He is going for the hards, what Harv, as you say, probably should have done, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Harv is going to be with some blistering pace. He won't have to wait around. Here he goes, getting past short Marcus. He managed to jump him in the pits, getting up the inside. The Mercedes looking for the cutback, but the Racing Point just going to hold it there, and just going to manage to pull himself up. He's now got 1.2 seconds until the next car, and he's reeling him in very much Hunter instinct.
Yeah, Denmark being new to our Friday league, but has raced many times in our Wednesday league, and Denmark's great pace and is a very good defending, so I don't think iHub is going to find it as easy to get past Denmark. Denmark on some decently worn medium tyre, 6 laps in, but still going to have a lot of grip on them and able to make them a really good go of defending. Half braking very late there. I thought there was going to be a bit of a rear end. I spoke too soon. Denmark spinning it out of the chicane and handing iHub the position and DRS, which is going to put Denmark at jeopardy from short marks because Denmark will not have DRS.
Yeah, but he's managed to get through. Harv won't be complaining at all on getting through there, and Denmark is going to lose out to short Marcus there. That's really cost him some momentum, and he's getting himself up. And Harv now just reeling in the next guy. 2.2 seconds to Bold Boy. He's setting some really good pace on these tyres. But Mitch and Jim at the moment lead the way 1-2.
No surprise there for me. Both of them have kept it clean, had great start positions, and that's going to pay off if you're able to keep it clean and not have to worry about penalties. You're not worrying how am I going to catch it up. That's one thing I tend to find, and when you're looking around those around you, okay, I've got say 9 seconds, but these guys ahead of me have got 3, or behind me have got 3. How am I going to keep them off? I'm watching Bald Boy run wide out of turns 8, I believe it was, and they basically cut the entire corner. Chris getting up to 5th, and Bald Boy now got iHub right on the back of him. So we're going to have a bit of a DRS train here. Chris on 17 lap old medium tyres, really making these tyres work for him, but I doubt he's going to have much of an answer. Will he be pitting here? I think obviously iHub doesn't know how worn Chris's tyres are. Chris still staying out. Wow, I don't know what he's doing. As Chris gets into the wall of champions, Arj has also retired. That also looks like a pit lane retirement. So that's just a yellow flag. So another pit lane retirement from Arj reserving in the Ferrari.
Yeah, interesting. There's been 3 retirements all in the pit lane, which is not something we often see. Here's Harv looking for the inside of Bold Boy, runs it tight and goes for the outside. It turns to the inside, bit of contact between the two as they run side by side through the right hander, but Harv just going to claim that corner and keep it running. But Max into the pit lane. He pitted a lap previously after getting past Cider Space. And then peeled into the pit lane, so he still had some really good pace on some really worn tyres. And there is short Marcus getting past Chris, and is Chris going to launch an attack? He's going to look for the inside. Big lock up there from him. Pistol Racing has left the session. We've lost him, I believe. Yeah, we've lost him to unfortunately connection issues, so it is just myself now on the commentary. So hopefully Pete can get himself back in, because I don't want to hog the mic too much. It's definitely a bad thing to do. Someone would give you that advice. But here is Denmark trying to get past Chris. He's got the speed, but Chris really has the assistance of the DRS. A little bit more spread out now is everyone. Harv trying to close onto the back side of space, and he probably should do that. His tyres are half as worn as side of spaces are at this time. We'll have a little look. It's 14 seconds to the leader, so Harv has sort of done a reverse Jim at this point. Jim now the one stretching out those tyres. He's had the advantage. Now it's Harv with the advantage, so they're sort of tussling between who wants to be the quicker car on the track at the moment. And at the moment it is Harv, and he is closing quickly, but hopefully Cider Space is going to hold him up a little bit and wait for Jim to come into the pits. But at the moment, Jim is looking good to be the quicker one at the later stage in the race, which is where you want to be. And there is Denmark getting past Chris. He's going to look to the inside, jump over the curb, bit of contact, goes into neutral. And that could have been very close to disaster. Chris very desperate to keep the the car inside the top 7. Just couldn't quite keep it or send it deep enough on the brakes, unfortunately. Short mark is closing after Bold Boy. But it's interesting to know when Harvey's going to try and peel into the pits. But there is yellow flags. There's a virtual safety car. Residium has in fact retired from the session. That is a very weird place for him to have crashed. What has happened there? Was it into the pit lane? Did he go into the back of someone? We'll have to see after the race, maybe with a steward's inquiry. But this is now maybe the perfect time for Jim to pit if he can get to the pit lane, because everyone else is going to be driving around at 40% race speed delta. So he's going to have to slow down. Everyone's going to have to slow down. He's going to lose a lot less time from pitting. But we are back under green flag, so he couldn't get to the pits in time. And Harvey needs a good restart to get past Sidespace and get himself back into the clean air. He's got the overtake, sided defends. Harv looking for the inside, darts even deeper down the inside into the hairpin. And the Ferrari looking for the switcheroo is right underneath him. Can he get the traction though? He hasn't been able to get the traction. Harv still will have the DRS, but Seidel will have the slipstream and the overtake back down towards turn 13. Is it going to be enough? Is he going to fight it? I think he's counted his and is just going to back out of this one. But Jim into the pit lane then, going for some medium tyres and a new front wing. So that's going to cost him a bit of extra time in the long run. And is now going to be looking to head after Harv, who will have to pit again. Remember, he's gonna have to pit, and probably, I'm gonna guess, for some soft tyres. But as long as Jim can keep it clean for the remainder of the race, he should, in theory, be okay. A bit of a tussle between Max and Chris as Jim leaves the pit lane, but Max in a very good position, getting himself into the top 8, really showing his pace and what could have been. And on the back of Jim, so this is the perfect comparison between a front runner and the man that probably could have been at the front. So we'll have to see whose pace is where. And it looks as though, unfortunately, Pete won't be back in the commentary box, so it's just myself to the end of the race. But let's see how Max can stick with Jim. It'll be the perfect comparison between the two. Jim on slightly fresher tyres and a purple middle sector on his outlap. Short Marcus and Bold Boy now running side by side. Pretty plain sailing move. Gets it done with DRS and overtaking down towards turn 13. And has got that done up into the top 4. Still a very shaken up grid. We don't know who's going to take the win where. But Jim, with a very fast and a very aggressive Max behind him, is definitely going to be looking in his mirrors. And any fighting could cost them. So Max hopefully going to play the long game and sit behind Jim as it stands, trying to do all Swans proud is Jim in the Renault. And hopefully he can bring home the win and try and dent the championship lead that Max has, that he managed to extend last weekend. There's yellow flags actually. Is that Golden Wolf having a bit of an off? It looks as though it is. There's been a couple of yellow flags being waved, but it's nothing too serious at the moment. Here's Jim on the inside of Denmark. It looks as though Denmark isn't going to fight that. And that is going to be a car between Jim and Max. So Max is going to have to negotiate a car, a mobile chicane. And this could allow Jim to break free of the DRS. Max virtually pushing him though. He's going to look for the inside. Going to send it deep under brakes. Very, very nice to get that stopped. Does Max. And Denmark doesn't have too much to say about that one. Max will continue on. But it's allowed Jim to open up a little bit of a gap. But that's just going to be close straight back up with the DRS. The virtual tow hook, and Harv into the pit lane as well. So this is really a battle of strategy. Who's going to blink first? Who's coming in when? Harv with some penalties, remember. But he's strapping on what compounder tyre? Probably the softs, I would guess, and a new front wing. So a lot of damage going on to the front of these cars. But he's on the softs, and to the end they're going to be very quick. But he needs to be careful towards the end of this race. He's got 11 laps to go. And 11 lap on the softs is never pretty. So he's going to have to save a little bit, but try and use the advantage where he can. Harv may have just thrown himself out of contention. We'll have to see as Mitch picks himself up a 3-second penalty. There's another spinner, I believe, of Golden Wolf in the same place, unfortunately. So not getting to grips, unfortunately, with the circuit. 16 runners left in this race then, and Harv on the back of Fotski, setting up a nice little cutback, goes underneath him, gets the power down, uses overtake, uses DRS, soars past him, and Fotski doesn't have too much to say about that one, but Harv is going to want to get himself going. There's yellow flags through sectors 2 and 3. There has been a crash. That is Golden Wolf off in the wall. Isn't quite enough to bring out a full course yellow, so luckily for the likes of, well, actually for Mitch, that would have been a saving grace. Could have actually thrown him in contention for the race win. Here's Jim getting past Bold Boy, looking to get past Bold Boy, I should say. He's going to the inside, Jim to the outside, brakes late enough. Can he go around the outside? Yes, he can. The Haas of Max is even going to have a look himself, soars around the outside, follows Jim through on a compromised Bold Boy. What a move, what an opportunistic move from Max. And he really does not want to let Jim out of his sights. He wants to stay with him as well as he can and stay with the Renault. And he's really giving him a run for his money. Jim doing all the work for Max. Max is just sitting behind. He's managed to save a little bit of ERS. And Jim really propelling him through the field, slicing through them like butter. When will Mitch pit though? He doesn't have to technically, but it might be good if he does. Maybe just to see how well he does. Jim very deep on the brakes, nearly into the back of Cyberspace there. That was very close to disaster, really flirting with disaster. Here comes Jim, pushing Cider through turn 10 and then down towards turn 11 and 12. And should pull to the inside, but Cyberspace has got the DRS to defend with, and they're both into the pit lane, so Jim doesn't need to do any work at all there. But he's going to pick up the DRS, which is going to help him from Max. He's used up a lot of DRS, and so has Jim getting through, and they're both now back into the front two positions of the race. And Mitch pulling out on the softs. Where's Harv? Where is Harv? He's a long way back, and he's really thrown himself out of contention for this race. And with Mitch on the softs, I would say Mitch is probably one of the favourites to win this race. I'm going to hedge my bets on Mitch, because the Tube Haas boys actually looking really good. But as these guys deteriorate slowly and slowly, Mitch is looking good for a race win. He just needs to keep those tyres alive for as long as he can. The two Red Bulls coming together. Bad Boy should in theory be quicker, but we never know. We'll go back to the front for the fight for the race lead. Jim has no saving grace now. Max is going to be all over the back of him, and he's going to have DRS. He just needs to maximise this exit off turn 10. Get the drag reduction, use the overtake. Is it going to be enough? They're both trying to harvest ERS. He is closing, he's closing. Jim pulls back to the outside, Max to the inside. We know how aggressive he is. He's going to look to the inside, under brakes. He's going to back out of that one though and think better of it. Try and maybe set it up towards turn 1, but he's lost too much time. And he's looking way too far back for this one. And the more they fight, the quicker Mitch is going to reel him in. He's got 8 laps or so to catch them up and get past. As Short Marcus gets past the Red Bull of Fotski. And yeah, Fotski on those hard tyres is only going to go backwards. So close to contact. Into the final corner of the Israel Factory. Sector 1 as Callum Jones has retired from the session. Where is he on track? Jim nearly into the back of him. That was so close to calamity. As Mitch managed to negotiate through as well cleanly. Yes, he has. That's probably the worst place he could have crashed. Half struggling on these softs. Everyone getting through. Surprisingly, that's not a safety car, because that's a very flat out corner into a very blind corner. But who knows what Michael Massey's thinking up in the race control. So Max trying to set up a good exit. Is it enough? I don't think it is. Jim has enough saved up to defend, and he doesn't look too close. He will close, of course. Itching ever closer. Looking for the inside, but it's probably best he just sets up a good little exit and uses the DRS down towards turn 1. He's not using his overtake though. He wants to save it a little bit, as I believe this is Denmark, who's managed to get past Votski as well, who's only falling backwards. Max wants to get through. I know he wants to get through, but Mitch reeling them in really quickly. The more they have little tiny skirmishes, the more Mitch is going to reel them in. Jim, though, has no penalties, whereas Mitch has 3, Max has 6. So he's going to need to get past and then pull 3 seconds on him, which, I mean, he definitely could do. Mitch has definitely got the pace to do so. Max looking to the inside of Jim. Again, just can't quite be committed enough on the brakes. He's not close enough to really launch much of an attack. DRS open though, and overtake enabled. He wants this race lead. He's closing on Jim. He's closing. Jim trying to park it to the inside, but Max going to soar to the inside. He's just going to let him have that one. He's not going to fight it around the outside. Maybe could launch a counter attack, but I think Jim knows the more they fight, the more Mitch is going to close in. And that is Max into the lead of the race, but he's got 6-second penalties. So as it stands, Jim is the winner with Mitch in second. But Harvey's really thrown himself out of contention here. He's down into 4th. He's not played the strategy well at all. That is a big shame. Jim falling out of DRS, so perhaps all this pace was bottled up within Max to try and pull the gap once he got through, and he's now got the gap between himself and Mitch. He could try and extend it. But it's going to be very, very difficult to do so. Mitch not quite in DRS range. He's still got 6 laps. So he's got time on his side. Does not need to push. And Jim's still just hanging into the DRS of Max in front. Has Mitch lost a little bit of his stride though? He's fallen off a little bit. There's a move now for P6 between Short Marcus and Bold Boy, and he's managed to get himself into the top 6. Other than that, it's rather spread out. There's a little bit of a fight for P6 going on. Just also spreading out a little bit at the front as well. Jim just needs to stay within 3 seconds of Max, and Mitch needs to stay within 3 seconds. Oh, well, no. Yeah, Jim needs to stay within 6 seconds of Max, and Mitch needs to stay within 3 seconds of Max as well if he wants to finish in second place. So Max really needing to get himself moving. But Mitch just clawing himself into the DRS of Jim. He's used up all of his battery, and Max saving a little bit. Mitch just needs to get himself in. Those softs are going to start to deteriorate. He needs to use the advantage while he's still got it. He's only got 6 laps left of this race, or I should say closer to probably 5 now. But pretty evenly spread at the front between these 3. Any other close battles on track? Bold Boy and Mark is still going at it. A lot of people with penalties. Jim and Krawick's the only 2 to keep it clean. Of course, Krawick's in AI, so Jim the only one to keep it clean all race, and if he can keep it that way, he's going to be looking very good to take the win. But Max, commemorations for him, starting at the back of the grid and propelling himself this far up in a contention for the race lead. He's in the race lead at the moment. Yellow flash for sector 3. That is Kieran Reed's backwards at the chicane and putting himself into the pit lane. That's probably a wise decision. Mitch now, though, well established within the DRS of Jim. He's got a little bit of ERS saved up as well, as Kieran has decided to pack his bags and retire from the session. Fair play. But in the pit lane, so he won't disturb the action on track at all. Could have brought half back into it, actually. But unfortunately not. Mitch closing on Jim. He's sandwiched between the 2 Hasses. So Mitch needs to clear Jim, pull 3 seconds to Jim, and then stay within 3 seconds of Max, which is going to be a monumental task for him to do within the short span of about 4 laps. But still possible, anything can happen. He's falling just outside of Max's range though, only a couple of tenths in it. So Max really stretching his legs, really spreading his wings and flying off. Jim still has another 4.7 seconds to contend with. Oh no, 3.7 seconds to contend with. So he can chill. Actually, no, he's not. He's got himself a 3-second penalty, has Jim. which is throwing a massive spanner into the works. So he's now got 3 seconds. So Mitch and Jim both on equal pegging, and they need to stay within 3 seconds of Max, because Max now has a very good shot of winning this race. You only need 6 tenths to Jim in a few laps, and if these two start battling, that could definitely come down quick. Mitch as well wants to stay within 6 seconds of Max. Can Max win this race? He's picked himself up another 3-second penalty though. No, that is really thrown him out of contention now though. He had a little bit of a hope. There was a glimmer of hope for Max, and I've jinxed it. Max could have won that race, and he's just fluffed it up for himself now. Whoa, big sideways moment from Jim there nearly. Manages to hold it though, luckily. But yeah, Mitch's tyre is going to be looking worse for wear. God knows how Half feels. Already on 9-lap-old soft compound tyres. Oh, and he's in the wall. Half into the wall. We got a massive slide coming off that corner there. That is him well and truly out of this session. It's too late into the race for a safety car, but that is an unusual place for Half to bin it. And that is going to be a big shame, because he did look quick and just sort of threw away his chance there, unfortunately. So that is now, he becomes the 8th car we have lost to a retirement. But it's still been a good fight at the front. Max still with a chance to win it. Maybe if these two battle too harshly. But yeah, it's definitely the fight for the on-track race lead. Here comes Mitch up the inside of Jim, who's going to leave him around the outside. Can Mitch maybe try and set up a cutback? That's the closest he's been all race. He needs to try and maybe make the most of these soft tyres while he's still got them in his hand. We're onto the penultimate lap. And he needs to get through, because these tyres are going to hit a massive cliff very, very quickly. Bald Boy as well going side by side with Short Marcus. There's a bit of contact. He's sent wide. That's going to invite Denmark to get up the inside in the McLaren and drive himself into the top 6. But back at the front, Mitch and Jim, the most interesting battle on the track, because it is the fight for the net race lead. Equal pegging when it comes to penalties. Mitch knows that. He can see the little 3 seconds above Jim's name in the top left of his screen. And he's going to want to get through, because he's now only got a few corners left. 16 corners left of this race to go. It's all boiled down to this. Max leads the way from Jim, from Mitch. Max with a few penalties. Mitch running completely thin on ERS, chucking it through. He's picked himself up another 3-second penalty though. He's run over the curb, and that is a big shame. That is his chance of the race win gone. We're on to the final lap. What could it have been? Could he have got himself into the lead of the race? Could he have done it? But Jim just needs to negotiate this final lap as well as he can. Denmark trying to get past Short Marcus and get himself into the top 5. Bald Boy as well on the back of him, using the slipstream, using the ERS, using the slipstream and the DRS. Can he get it to the inside? Yes, he can. He's going to go for it up the inside. The McLaren's still on the outside, looking to the inside. The Rebel going to give him just a little bit of space, but not enough. And that is Bald Boy back into the top 6. So a nice little battle going on here between the midfield guys. Too bad it's not quite like that at the front. Maybe Mitch can launch a bit of an attack. Mitch trying to set up a good little exit. Bit of a sideways moment though. Max has driven from the back of the grid. Commemoration from him to even put it in a chance of winning this race. He negotiates the final corner. And while he's nursed those mediums for quite a while, he started at the back, he negotiated his way through, he showed his true pace, he wins on track, but with penalties, it is going to be Jim that takes the victory of the Canadian Grand Prix, followed very closely by Max and Mitch. The two Hasses on the podium though, but Jim taking the win and going to close the gap to Max in the championship, but after missing a couple of rounds, could be pretty difficult for him to do. Cyberspace a few minutes later, or a few moments later, will come across in P4. Very nice race, and Short Marcus is going to jump him at the line. Bald Boy going to fall down, Cyberspace going to fall down, so Denmark up into P5. But I have to definitely say my driver for the day is Max. 100%. He played this race to perfection from the back, drove his way through, drove with maturity, drove with aggression, everything he needed to, and at very much damage limitation. He did just that. And the game agreeing with me there that Max the driver of the day. So the Renault taking it to the top step of the podium, lifting the winner's trophy, a well-deserved victory. I'm going to be spraying the champagne, and a double Haas podium. They're not going to be complaining about that one at all. So Jim takes the win ahead of Max and Mitch, rounding off the podium for P19 to P2. An incredible race, and Marcus staying in 4th. Nice quiet race to bring it home in P4. Denmark P5. Chris from P18 to P6. Again, another commemorable drive. Cyberspace in P7. Ballboy P8. Wumax in P9. And Voski rounding off the top 10 from 3rd on the grid, though really falling backwards in the dry. Crowix in P11. UFO P12. And Harv, Kieran, Callum, Golden Wolf, CDM, ARG, GFX, and Broke Gorilla rounding off the grid. But that is going to round it up for today's action. Somehow Crowix has managed to do a blistering lap time of a 1:03.0. No idea how he's done that one, but yeah, nonetheless, that is going to wrap up today's action, guys, at the Canadian Grand Prix. What a race it was. It was really a battle of strategy. We didn't know who was going to come out on top until around about the last 5 laps or so, when it really narrowed down to around about 3. But if you have enjoyed, do make sure to leave a like on the stream and share around if you did enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Zach Sweeney, and this has been OBF1. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.